You're listening to Intelligent Medicine, a resource to help you take control of your health. We offer a balanced, objective analysis of all your health, wellness, and aging options, both conventional and alternative. Now you can take your engagement to the next level by joining FullScript. FullScript is my online dispensing platform that only offers curated, professional-grade supplement brands that I know and trust. Never counterfeit or expired, always stored and shipped correctly. Just go to drhoffmanstore.com for more information and to start your free FullScript account. Buying through FullScript offers fast, free shipping, optional refill reminders, a mobile-friendly site. It's safe, secure, and HIPAA compliant and offers world-class support. Just go to drhoffmanstore.com. You'll get access to the supplements and features you need to help you achieve your wellness goals, including my custom targeted protocols that combine the products I recommend to address specific needs, heart health, immune support, and much more. It's all at drhoffmanstore.com. drhoffmanstore.com.
Welcome to Leyla Weighs In, here on the Intelligent Medicine podcasts. Thanks for downloading these. If you'd like to email me with questions, topic of interest, that email is questions@drhoffman.net. That is questions@drhoffman.net. And if you don't already subscribe to the Intelligent Medicine newsletter, just go over to drhoffman.com and click subscribe. Comes out about once a week, and you may unsubscribe at any time. I want to talk to you about something I've just read about scientists discover what triggers belly fat as we age. I have my own opinion about this, which I will pepper throughout this, I think. So scientists discover what triggers belly fat as we age. Many people notice a familiar change as they get older. The waistline gradually expands, even when overall body weight does not change dramatically. This increase in abdominal fat is more than a cosmetic concern, because excess belly fat has been linked to slower metabolism, accelerated aging, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic health problems. I mean, we know now that excess belly fat is not just a fat depot. It behaves as an endocrine organ, and it produces inflammatory cytokines, which then evolve into chronic diseases, they state here. Accelerated aging, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, all of that. So it's not just a fat depot, belly fat. And we're not just talking about the subcutaneous fat, the fat under the skin. We're talking about visceral fat, which is the fat that goes around the organs, the deep belly fat. That's the really dangerous stuff. Scientists have long known that body composition changes with age, but exactly why fat tends to accumulate around the midsection has remained unclear. Now, researchers at City of Hope have identified what may be a key biological driver of age-related belly fat. Their findings, published in the journal Science, point to a newly identified type of stem cell that appears during aging and may help fuel the production of new fat cells. I want to say this again. The findings published in the journal Science point to a newly identified type of stem cell that appears during aging and may help fuel the production of new fat cells. This is already teetering on, not a lot of conviction here. Anyway, let me go on. The discovery could eventually lead to new strategies for reducing abdominal fat and promoting healthier aging. So they've identified a type of stem cell that appears during aging, and they are hypothesizing that it may help to fuel the production of new fat cells. My question is this really all about a stem cell? And why is this stem cell, this type of stem cell, appearing during aging is my question, because here in integrative and functional nutrition, we're looking for root causes. So my question right away is, well, what brought on this special type of stem cell? And why is it only appearing during aging? Let me continue. People often lose muscle and gain body fat as they age, okay? And even when their body weight remains the same, says Dr. Annabelle Wang, PhD, the study's corresponding author and an associate professor of molecular and cellular endocrinology at City of Hope's Arthur Riggs Diabetes and Metabolism Research Institute, a leading center for diabetes research. Quote, "We discovered aging triggers the arrival of a new type of adult stem cell and enhances the body's massive production of new fat cells, especially around the belly." The research team worked with scientists at UCLA and conducted a series of experiments in mice that were later supported by studies of human cells. Their investigation focused on white adipose tissue, white fat tissue, WAT, the body's primary fat storage tissue. White fat tissue, or white adipose tissue, is responsible for storing excess energy and is a major contributor to weight gain and belly fat accumulation. Scientists have long known that existing fat cells can become larger as people age. However, the researchers suspected that another process might also be contributing to expanding waistlines, the creation of entirely new fat cells. If true, that would mean aging fat tissue could continue growing, not just by enlarging existing cells, but by constantly adding new ones. Well, we do know that we do add new fat cells as we're packing on fat metabolically. This is true. But let me go on to this here. To test this idea, the team studied adipocyte progenitor cells, APCs, a type of stem cell found within fat tissue. These cells serve as precursors that can mature into fully developed fat cells. Okay. The researchers transplanted these APCs from both young and older mice into a separate group of young mice, and the results were striking. APCs, these fat cells, these fatty stem cells taken from older animals, generated large numbers of new fat cells. The opposite experiment produced a very different outcome. When APCs from young mice were transplanted into older mice, they generated relatively few new fat cells. So again, they generated relatively few new fat cells, but there were still newly created fat cells. But they say relatively few new ones. This suggested that the ability to aggressively produce fat was built into the older APCs themselves and did not depend on the age of the animal receiving them. To understand what was happening at a molecular level, the researchers used single-cell RNA sequencing, a technique that allows scientists to examine gene activity in individual cells. And the analysis revealed that APCs were relatively quiet in young mice. In middle-aged mice, however, these cells became highly active and began producing large amounts of new fat cells. Quote, while most adult stem cells' capacity to grow wanes with age, the opposite holds true with APCs. Aging unlocks these cells' power to evolve and spread. This is the first evidence that our bellies expand with age due to the APC's high output of new fat cells. And again, my question is, what is causing the production of these particular stem cells they call APCs? And they're calling it a discovery of a new age-related stem cell. The scientists found that aging did more than simply activate APCs. As mice reached middle age, some APCs transformed into a newly identified stem cell population called committed preadipocytes, age-specific, CPAs, not certified public accountants, CP-As. And these cells appeared specifically during aging and proved especially effective at producing new fat cells. Their emergence may help explain why older mice gained more fat as they aged. The researchers then searched for the biological signals controlling this process. So they looked for biological signaling. And again, I'm looking for the root cause of why these specially identified stem cells are showing up in middle age and in aging populations. Does it have something to do with metabolism? Does it have to do with metabolic abnormalities, dysfunctions in our metabolism based on what we're eating, especially when it comes to our macronutrient profiles? Is it possible that as we get older, as we become more carbohydrate intolerant, our bodies become less resilient in processing all of that? And then the formation of these particular stem cells, these APCs, are appearing due to these metabolic abnormalities because we continue to eat too many carbohydrates. Our metabolisms are indeed different from our teens through our 20s into our 50s and 60s, absolutely. The other part of the equation is we do become more sedentary unless we just decide to remain active. That is number one. But again, only 20% of weight loss has to do with our physical activity, and we can't outrun a bad diet. So it could be that we are storing all of this fat in the belly because we are more insulin resistant. And maybe the insulin resistance itself, the hyperinsulinemia itself, is causing the appearance of these particular stem cells, these adipocyte progenitor cells, these APCs that they're talking about in this study, right? But they go further down this rabbit hole. The researchers identified an important signaling pathway known as leukemia inhibitory factor receptor, LIFR. signaling pathways or communication systems that allow cells to receive instructions and coordinate their behavior. Yes. In this case, LIFR appeared to play a major role in helping these CP-A cells multiply and develop into fat cells. Yeah. Quote, we discovered that the body's fat-making process is driven by LIFR. While young mice don't require this signal to make fat, older mice do. Our research indicates that LIFR plays a crucial role in triggering CP-A to create new fat cells and expand belly fat in older mice. So, they're saying that LIFR appeared to play a major role in helping these particular cells multiply and develop into fat cells. But is this LIFR appearing? It's a signaling pathway. Is it appearing due to the metabolic abnormality of insulin resistance? I wish they would kind of zoom out a little bit, if I may describe it this way. The researchers would zoom out and ask, what is happening before LIFR? What is happening before the particular stem cells appear that are causing more belly fat accumulation? What is causing the appearance of these stem cells? What is causing this signaling pathway known as LIFR to happen? So, instead, they're zooming in saying our research indicates that LIFR plays a crucial role in triggering these particular cells to create new fat cells, expand belly fat in older mice. Now, to determine whether the findings might apply beyond mice, the team analyzed human tissue samples from people of different ages using the same single-cell RNA sequencing approach. The researchers identified cells that closely resembled the newly discovered CP-As. These cells were found in greater numbers in tissue from middle-aged individuals. The human CP-A also showed a strong ability to generate new fat cells, suggesting that a similar biological process may occur in people. I applaud the researchers for doing this test in human tissue. And quote, our findings highlight the importance of controlling new fat cell formation to address age-related obesity. Understanding the role of CP-A in metabolic disorders, and how these cells emerge during aging could lead to new medical solutions for reducing belly fat and improving health and longevity. Listen to what they say. They see aging as separate from metabolic disorders because, as in metabolic disorders and how these cells emerge during aging can lead to new medical solutions. How about a nutritional solution? How about the treating of hyperinsulinemia that occurs as we get older because we are becoming more glucose intolerant, because our bodies are processing all these carbohydrates with a whole lot less resilience as we age than they did in our 20s, in our teens, in our 20s, and even our 30s. How about addressing that? So, although more research is needed, all the scientists say, this discovery provides scientists with a promising new target for future therapies. So what they're going to do is researchers now plan to track these CP-A cells in animal studies, investigate how these cells behave in humans, and explore ways to block or eliminate them. And if successful, such approaches could potentially help prevent the accumulation of belly fat that commonly accompanies aging. So they're looking to develop a pill. They're exploring ways to block or eliminate these particular cells. How about reducing and diminishing the hyperinsulinemia, the insulin resistance that has everything to do with the appearance of these particular stem cells, these adipose-promoting stem cells, and the biological signaling processes that are occurring as a result of that hyperinsulinism. How about treating the hyperinsulinism to help make the body's cells more sensitive to insulin by reducing the carbohydrate load in the diet, therefore diminishing, downregulating that signaling, downregulating the appearance of these stem cells, and preventing the accumulation of belly fat. How is that? Rather than going down this rabbit hole of finding the minute, the tiny, the signaling pathways, all of that, which is fascinating in itself. It truly is. And I do applaud the researchers for using human tissue and not just doing the mouse thing, right? Because we have to be very careful in extrapolating the results of rodent studies to human beings. So I applaud them for doing this in human tissue. But I would love for them to zoom out that lens and say, what's happening before the appearance of these adipose retaining cells and signaling pathways and all of that? In my world, in nutrition, that is the first question to ask. And you may find a much, much simpler treatment by reducing carbohydrates. I want to thank you for joining me on another edition of Leyla Weighs In. This is Intelligent Medicine.
I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything Intelligent Medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations.
This is Leyla Muedin, registered dietitian nutritionist. I maintain a private practice and see patients regularly. If you require a nutrition consult with me but live out of town, there's no need to travel to New York City. I have telephone and telehealth consultations with clients from all over the country. Please visit drhoffman.com for more information. And to set up an appointment, call 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. I look forward to being a collaborator in your healthcare.